process you guys go through when you take a non-jazz piece and try and jazz it? You know, I mean,
yes,
is there something that...
Basically, we find a song, we ask for a recommendation for a song that people will know, a very popular song. We like folk songs, the older songs. Sometimes we'll do a more modern song, but we like the older folk songs or national songs. We'll get it up on YouTube. Chris is very good at using Finale program on his computer. Zane is too now. Or I'll do it by hand, and we'll write it out, and then we'll rehearse it. We'll say, okay, so we'll play this section, then we'll improvise, make jazz improvisation, then we'll go back to the melody here, and then more improvisation. So, and audiences are usually very generous with us. They seem to enjoy it. They make us.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions. I saw a clip of you guys doing the 360 Mall. Was that last time you were here in Kuwait?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, right. And I noticed that, okay, a lot of the people were just the regular mall-going crowd. And you know, jazz is not something everyone here has been submitted to as such. Did people come up to you after it all and be like, what the heck was that? I mean, what is the sort of response you get to the genre?
Variety of responses, from curiosity, and appreciation, also some, you know, kind of real diehard fans that were saying like, thank God you guys came and played this for us, because we've been working on it, you know, listening and playing in our own little group, and this is so great to hear jazz. So it's really a wide variety of responses. Everyone's exposure is different to the music.
Right.
But, for us, it's all important. We want to reach the people that love jazz and that play jazz and know jazz, but also the people that don't even know what the word jazz means.
Right.
It's definitely a good feeling when you're in a mall in Kuwait and someone comes up to you and he's wearing a Miles Davis t-shirt from a Miles Davis album, and he's saying, "Oh, we're so happy you're here. We love jazz in Kuwait." And as happy as we are to see Kuwaiti folk music, it's great also to see people who love jazz in Kuwait.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a following here,
but I clearly remember this
guy,
a young man coming up to us wearing a Miles Davis.
That's awesome.
What I like is the mall, because you know, you played at a mall.
Yeah.
You reach all sorts of people that would never come to a jazz concert, would never go to, you know, they wouldn't know about it, or maybe it wouldn't interest them. So you're playing jazz from 1942, and there's a grandmother and a 6-year-old together, and they're listening for 45 minutes and smiling and clapping along. That's one.
Mostly, I'm going to throw this question out. Is there such a thing as a wrong note in jazz?
I would say the only wrong note in jazz is not knowing that it's wrong. You can play any note anytime, and then you have to do, if it's something that doesn't sound good, then you have to do something to make it right. So you can really play any note, but you have to know why it's a naturally right note, or if it's not a naturally right note, you have to do something that gives it a context.
Right.
So that you're saying, I'm purposely not playing the natural note.
Right.
And I'm going to make it right.
Islamic influence and Arabic sounds.
Huh. That's
And
really
I'll tell you something else that you probably, I'm sure you know in your heart, but you never thought about.
Right.
Well, not a big portion of the great jazz musicians, right? Part of the root of the music is blues music, right? And the other one of the big roots is gospel music, right?
Right.
Black church, right? Now, there are so many great jazz musicians that they grew up in one of those households that went to church every Sunday, and that music was in their soul, and at some point their parents were telling them, you have to make a choice between God's music or jazz, right?
Yeah.
So in every culture, I don't care if it's, you know, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Islamic, Buddhist, there's always going to be some tension between some forms that want to, you know, one interpretation a little more stricter, right? And then ones that are a little more permissible, right? And so those tensions, it's part of life. It's in every culture. It's in all over the world, and hopefully we find ways to
So that's
that
what
everyone
KM tries to do, like try and give one platform to all the musicians here. And to be honest, a lot of them are feeling a bit choked and not having the opportunity, as many as possible, leave to places like New York and other places to be able to express themselves. And expression is really important as musicians. From each of you, any words of advice, inspiration, anything at all for the KM audience, as people who've been able to go out there and, like, you know.
I think it's wonderful that you're coming together to try and create a community of musicians. And I don't know, I think people who play music, they do it because they must. The ones who are real musicians, because they feel attracted to it for reasons they can't really understand, and it gives their life a richness that they can't live without. So if you really love music, you're a musician whether there's a huge audience for you or a small audience for you, and it gives you the same sense of gratification. And I think that's the beautiful thing about music, is it gives your whole life meaning and richness. And now there's so much information available about music through the internet that anybody can access, and it gives you a sense of community, even if it's not directly in your community. Kind of
I would say embrace the difficulty. Embrace the difficulty. All the great jazz musicians I met, they went through real challenges, you know, especially in those times in the 30s and 40s. And it makes for great art, you know. So it feel in your soul that you're in a good tradition of, like, it may be difficult to perform as much as you want or to have, but that still makes for great art, because you have to struggle and you have to really show to yourself how much you love it, how important it is to you, and never get angry and bitter towards the other people, because also these jazz musicians that I met who went through such hard times, they were filled with so much love of other people, all kinds of people, you know. They had so much, and it came out in their music. So keep the love in your music and embrace the difficulty of each day.
I guess, yeah, I agree with that. And I would say, when you love music and you're passionate about it, and you know in your heart that this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life, you're going to find a way to do it. And everybody has to find their own path. And everybody takes a different path to reach their goal. So just don't give that up. You know, it may be difficult now, but then you're going to find a way later to make it work. Because, I mean, my dad used to always tell me, he said, well, you made a decision to become a musician. Now you're going to have to make it work for you. And I can't really tell you how to do that. But you're going to have to somehow, you're going to make it work for yourself. You know, find your path, you know. And if you're passionate about it and it's in your heart, you're going to find a way to do it. So it's just, don't give up. You know, and if you love music that much, there's no way you're going to give up. No way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll just add that if there's some frustration with circumstances, no one can control everything. There's always going to be stuff that's beyond your control. And some of us have it harder than others. That's just the way it is. And I'm sorry about that. But if we could turn it on its head and turn it upside down, if you had your ideal circumstances, there's still something that can rob you of the ideal experience, which is the lack of the sincerity of your own performance. And that's something you can practice in any circumstance. So don't let that be robbed. That's the most important thing. Practice sincerity, the real sincerity. Don't adopt someone else's sincerity. Practice your own sincerity and bring that to every show. It's not going to matter who's in your band, how many people showed up, what the lighting is and the makeup and the costumes. This is the most important thing. You can do that with two musicians. You can have a flute and a guitar. And if you're sincere and there's two people listening to you, it's going to transcend all circumstances.
Fantastic.
I have a saying I always say that in jazz, something is supposed to be screwed up. Okay, either the money's not good, or the band isn't good, or the audience isn't good, or the hall is terrible, or your instrument is broken. If everything's perfect, it makes bad jazz.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you need, as I say, you need something to push against. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's where the blues tradition comes from as well, right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry
Great
for taking
questions.
so much of your time.